Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, okay. So our discussion, I think we'll have a 1.5 hour time to discuss this topic. There are three keywords involved in this research ethics publication in our discussion. Then let us make our discussion in an interactive mode so that all research, all contribution that will be uh, strengthen our discussion. Is there nothing very fast and strict rule involved in this? When you can add your comments, your opinion when we discuss this type of topic. So let us start our discussion that research. How we elaborate this word research. It's a very common word, isn't it? Is any input, any response can I expect from participants? How we can define research? Any response? As you know, research, that is somewhat we are looking for some new information or new knowledge. That may be a search for knowledge, new information we are trying to gather. And it is an art of scientific investigation. By doing research, we able to get or acquire new knowledge, new findings we may achieve. But when we discuss about research, that is always start from what we know so far. What information available so far. A new knowledge is created, means something what we are adding to this knowledge base. In that case, a movement from known to the unknown, or in other words, it is a journey from known to unknown. We cannot make a entirely new knowledge without based on or without depending on what previously know to entire domain, knowledge domain in that area. So it is a journey from known to unknown. Research is a journey from known to unknown. Finally, we contributing something. And scientific research, there are a lot of many areas research, commercial uh, companies, they do many research regarding their products for finding suitable market, suitable consumers. Many research are there. Then when we do a scientific research, that is very systematic way we have to conduct a research. Then only others will going to accept that research. There, it involves systematic collection, interpretation, and evaluation of data. That is in a scientific or well-planned manner. That is scientific research. So, in modern research, when we talk about, there, scientific element is to be added, and such research only having some value when we present it in a learned or in a peer group, in a qualified community when we present. Now, let us discuss why should we do research, or what motivate we to do research. Is any contribution, is any response can I expect? Any response on motivation to research? Why should we do research? I think there are many young research scholars and students are participating this. They can add something with your idea. That need not be perfect answer. Whatever in your mind, you can add here. As a school going student or a college student, what we do, that knowledge available in the textbook that we are studying, what we knowledge available that we study, and that we will present in the answer script, and we get qualified a particular program or particular or we acquiring a particular degree, means we are having some minimum qualification achieved for doing something or eligible for some other opportunities. So that is the normal way we are learning and get qualified, that knowledge available in different sources that we are learning and acquiring some degrees and all. And have you ever thought how this knowledge is developed, or from where this knowledge achieved or coming from? In that sense, it is very sure that all this knowledge, what we are studying in the textbooks, these all are we obtain through effort of continuous research by many people. That knowledge we are created, that is added to a particular domain of knowledge, a knowledge bank of particular area. And this knowledge we are studying when we are a student. And as a teacher, as a faculty member of a particular department, that we are teaching this knowledge to next generation. That is the normal course it is going on. Now, when we conduct some research, when we do some research, it is too very interesting that our role from the point of a teacher or from the point of a student, that is changing. Our role is changing in such a way that we become creators of knowledge. We are creating the knowledge. That is why research, or a person who is engaging in research, is doing some noble job in that sense. In viewpoint, as it is a very noble or very important activity that some new knowledge is creating. Its merit or its truth is to be really verifiable, and it should not have some interference on. It should not be diluted. So motivation to research, maybe in different sense, we can say that discovery or development of something. And all research contributions are important. Maybe today or tomorrow, that may be a valuable contribution. When we think about that pandemic situation we faced, many knowledge that we achieved previously, that has been helped us to solve or face that pandemic situation. For example, in case of vaccine development, mRNA vaccine and other vaccines we able to develop so fast because of the many knowledge are already available. By using that, we could make or be able to face that situation. And as we mentioned, creation of new knowledge, our role is changing from the place of a teaching something to new generation. When we become a researcher, we become creators of new knowledge. Or some people may think that research that when we do, it may provide new insights, answer to a particular question, or it may give more details of a particular problem. But important is that a research when we do, that is not an end of a story. That when we find something as a result of our effort of research, it may ask many questions or it may retain many new questions. That is the case. Research is giving a closed system that answer is some answer we find, but along with that, many questions remains to answer when we find something. So this is a continuous dynamic process. Research, we can say that it is a continuous and dynamic process involved in that. When we do research, there may be many opportunities are there. It may be we able to collaborate with the people, and they we can do research and able to interact with people. They are engaged with similar areas, and research may sometimes be able to give some academic or professional credentials or new funding opportunities for furthering research. Such aspects are there, but most important is creation of new knowledge. That is through research only that happen. And in continuation to that, when we talk about research and uh, its benefits or motivation, one researcher trying to or join for research maybe an intention that to serve society by taking a research problem that is relevant to that society presently facing, or to solve a particular problem that is societally relevant. Or some maybe some intellect people enter into research for solving some unsolved problems. like as mathematicians, many Ramanujan and all, there are some problems. They may be stuck upon that and trying to solve such problems. That may be some intellectual joy by doing research. People may opt research. And some other motivations, I have, you may see that it's a large font size it is given, and font size is going on decreasing here. That it is based on just project that what should be the correct motivation for doing research. That last one and all, it is should not be a real motivation to research, that desire to get a research degree, desire to get a research degree along with its consequential benefit. That such things should not be a real motivation for doing research. Just get some financial benefit when we get a doctoral degree, and or that just get some respect when we having some doctorate degree. Such things should not be a real motivation for one engaging in research. Now, another keyword which we need to discuss about ethics. Very common word nowadays. Ethics. Can I expect some response regarding ethics? Any response? Any comment regarding ethics? What is ethics? In fact, yes.
Sir, integrity or truthfulness.
Yes. Integrity or truthfulness. We can say that it's an ethics. So, in that sense, we have to follow certain norms or certain uh, quality in our activities. That may be, or that is very depends on society. What today it is uh, following. Maybe in the past, something that was not ethically, not at all considered. Such things now it is considered ethically right. Such complexity is there that a society, what now it is thinking, it is right, but tomorrow it may be changed. It may change tomorrow. That's we cannot exactly uh, stick on some ethical point. So ethics in general sense, we can say that it is a moral principle that govern a person's behavior. And that is a moral conduct that we learn throughout life. By that from the family environment, or from the societal uh, adaptability or environment. A person who learn what he should do and what should not do, like do's and don'ts, may be fixed in a person. These all are included in the ethics. That may be conduct that distinguish between acceptable and unacceptable behavior of a person. So there are some principles, guidelines for uphold things we value. Maybe that a present society may be deciding which is right, which is wrong, which should what should do and what should not do. These all are a present day society or a society in a particular uh, geographical area, a particular cultural uh, aspect of a particular society. All these are involved in ethics. So that's a set of rules govern us, expectation of our own and others' behavior. There are a lot of ethical values we can suggest in that case. Our discussion is focused on research ethics. When we do research, what should be the points which we follow, or what guidelines we should follow for doing a good research? That is our one aspect in our discussion that may lead us when we conduct a research that is uh, following guidelines of ethics. It we can say that we are conducting a responsible research. There are so many such points we can point out in the research that is following or not should not do or to follow in a research. So research ethics are so important as it is promote aim of research by expanding the knowledge. And that's a general aspect of research. But when we try to expand knowledge, their ethics is to be followed, or ethical principle is to be followed in that. And also, research ethics that should ensure, or research should ensure that all values in a research is followed. And research, when we conduct, it should be accountable. As the uh, funding, maybe from a public fund we are using, or some other agencies funding our research. Hello. Am I audible?
It's audible, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Hello.
Sir, audible ആണ്.
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. Sorry, there is some
Sorry,
power
there is
failure
some
occurred.
power failure
Let me
occurred.
connect
Let me
once again.
connect once again. Okay. Okay, I think problem solved now. Ethics, when we talk about how we conduct a research that is uh, following all ethical principle or acceptable, societally acceptable way, how we can conduct a research. When we conduct a research, there are public fund we may be using. So when we do so, that research is to be uh, output, maybe true. It is to be verifiable, and it may be beneficial to the society. In that case, we may need to follow certain rules to do our research. There are many regulations for doing research. Maybe it may be related to conflict of interest, misconduct that is to be prevented. And when we handle human as a research for testing or something, or when we do some animals, we have to follow certain rules for rightly doing that research, so that money spent by the public, money spent that is appropriately. We have to ensure such aspect. Also, there should have some confidence to public that uh, fund which we use, that is used effectively, and research output can public can trust on that research output. Otherwise, our research become very irrelevant and does not make any impact the society. And we have to follow certain social and moral values. That is to ensure that our research not at all harming others. There are several ethical principles we can follow in research. There are many areas we can suggest. In that case, most important ethical principle that is relevant to research in all uh, areas, in all sectors, honesty is very important. In research, when we talk about data, when we present result, when we write methods and procedure, all these methods and procedure and all, which we have to ensure that it is reproducible. And also we have to follow uh, uh, honesty when we publish our findings. And we can keep away from fabrication, falsifying, or misrepresenting a data. Such things we can keep away when we do a good research. And also we have to uh, avoid some favorism or bias in research. Maybe we may have conducting a research, but with a presumption that one of the treatment which we is using, this is to be correct. Such an intention should be avoided in a good research, so that it is to be very unbiased in way. Maybe when we designing an experiment or analyzing a data or data interpretation, in all such situations we have to stand for neutral in our activity, that the very unbiased manner we have to approach our problem. And this is also important when we are working as a peer reviewer or some evaluating something or making some personal decision, or when we are uh, writing a research proposal or issuing a testimony to your students. In all such cases, as a researcher, we have to be very unbiased in our attitude. And also integrity we have to maintain in research means keep your promises and agreement to something. It is to be research output is something. Is anybody trying to do that? They should get similar result. It is to be reproducible in nature. And carefulness, another value that we have to avoid any sort of negligence in our research. And often researchers are very we all people as a research community, when we see that we don't want to get any sort of criticism, or very intolerant towards any comment that is negative. But uh, in fact, growth of a researcher or one researcher is to be become more productive when they are ready to accept criticism or be open to criticism and new ideas. This often happen when what when we submit a research paper to or when we present a research paper in a seminar, we may give some negative comments. We may get some comments out of that, and we able to take it as a constructive or productive comment, and we should able to learn something out of that. We able to analyze and make any uh, error from our side, it is okay or not, and that we can try to solve so that better better we can improve our research. So be ready to uh, accept criticism, and new ideas always welcome. Some Many of the research scholars may share their new ideas as a research guide to me, and you may also feeling that and these ideas, it's practically practicability, or is it having some truth or not, we can examine and we able to accept, instead of just standing on our way of doing is always right. We ready to change, accept the changes. That is very important to do good research. And also, we have to honor patent copyright. That we should not unnecessarily use without giving suitable credits. Should not steal this work. That we will be discussing the next slides. That confidentiality, many occasion as a researcher and as a responsible person, our role may be an evaluator, a peer reviewer, adjudicator of a thesis. Such a role as a researcher we may have to uh, discharge. In such situation also, that confidentiality of a particular aspect is to be maintained, and publication, that will be coming into publication ethics. But when we discuss about publication, that a paper which we publish, that should not be just to uh, get some uh, credit to our uh, profession, just for a promotion, or just for a uh, getting some advance increment, or getting some new project. If we are publishing, that should not be. We publish in order to advance research, or our research contribution, that is enriching knowledge in a particular domain. If we are publishing a research paper in a particular area, for example, in tissue culture, in my research area, when I am publishing, that contribution is overall enriching knowledge in that particular area, or it is just for sake of getting some benefit out of that. It is that we can avoid in that case. And other ethics relevant to research, responsible mentoring, that we can also always uh, educate our research scholars, mentors, and we can ignite our research scholars in that, giving some wonderful idea, wonderful thoughts, and let them think about and come up with some useful ideas that may able to solve a problem which we are working with. So it is to be that is the way of responsible mentoring, that we uh, interacting with our students and making some spark in their mind in particular a uh, problem, and that is ultimately giving some useful thought to that young research. And this I need not say about that. Respect the research institution, your colleagues, they are also equally qualified, and we have to be very uh, respectful to our colleagues. And social responsibility, as we mentioned, the public fund which we are using, that it is to be uh, many of the research problem which we select, that is able to mitigate or solve some social issues, some problems, that wherever possible we can add socially relevant element to our research. That may be possible, though research that is strictly classical research which we are doing, but there, while formulating a problem, some of the issues that socially relevant, that we can incorporate in our research problem. And discrimination, avoiding discrimination, such aspect is there. And competence. A researcher, his uh, thirst to knowledge, or his attitude towards learning new things, is never ending. Many of the researchers in good university labs and all, even after the 70s, they are ready to do research, and they're ready to share their experience, and uh, they are very interested to discharge their research output to young generation, because they are thinking that their knowledge is to contribute to the society, and they are very keen to learn new things even in their uh, 70s or late uh, period of their life. And legality is another uh, aspect, research ethics, that research, when we do, it is to be ensure that it is obey uh, laws, that is national or international regulatory authorities. It is to be in tune with such aspect, and proper respect, care of animals and human subject. When we do there also, we have to ensure that minimize harm and risk and maximize benefit when human subject is doing a research, that we are discussing, that when we do a research that involving human subject, that is to ensure participants' right safety and well-being. There is a international uh, declaration, that is Declaration of Helsinki. There are several this Declaration of Helsinki is a policy statement for doing research on human subjects. And there are several points involved, and several revisions occurred in DOH. And it is to ensure that when human subject is used, uh, some maybe drug which we are testing to human system, or we collecting data, health data, which we are recording from human. There, we have to ensure that informed consent are collected from the participants. That is very important. And when we do uh, animals in the research, it is to follow that code of practice for the housing and care of animals used in scientific procedure. There are three important points we follow when we use animals in our research, that replace, reduce, refine. This often required in case of animals when we do. Three R's is to be followed. Means uh, in nowadays it is well proven. Many of the in vivo experiment we can use some uh, experimental animal that is uh, easily obtained, and that is not invoking much ethical issue. For example, zebrafish system. Many of the experiments in vivo models, that zebrafish we can conduct. So some sort of replacing instead of some mammalian system like mouse and other system, uh, we can use such system. And also, uh, by the advent of bioinformatics tools, many of the experiment, its extent of experiment or vastness of an experiment, we can narrow down based on evidences by using docking and other bioinformatic studies. So we can reduce and refine our experiment with the help of other tools, and wet lab experiments or in vivo system can be greatly be reduced, and its uh, result may be more make more powerful in that sense. And when we do research by using plants, there normally uh, it may be in consensus with convention of biological diversity, and also convention on the trade in endangered species of wild fauna and flora. This is followed in conducting plant research. Their specimens and all voucher specimens we may collect, and it is submitted into museum or herbarium for this purpose, and it is ensured anybody can do research on this, that and plant identification, that collected specimen can be verified. And if doing a research with a very rare specimen, in the publication, this geographic indices, altitude, latitude, longitude, this type of geographic indices can be avoided, but at the same time that may be communicated directly to the editor for only for reference or ensuring that plant is available. Otherwise, if that plant is very rare, many people enter into that, and that may be a valuable plant material that may be unnecessarily collect, and it may be lead to uh, extinction of that plant. Uh, Now, another aspect in our discussion, we are coming into that publication. Why publication is important? As we mentioned, that when we do a research, and that research finding, if we presenting or publishing it to a scientific community, that research, if we are not doing that, there is no use at all. If that is kept in your bookshelf as a report, and nobody is using that report, it is almost equal to not done that work. So when we do a research publication, or that is to uh, making it to a public domain, that is equally important. If you are not doing, it is there is no use of your research. Your contribution is to is to accessible to the world scientific community, so that others can use your contribution for use that for furthering this research. That is why research is a continuous dynamic process. Once we contribute to something, that may make use by other researchers and able to do some other contribution. This process, in that case, in that part, publication is important. If you are not publishing our research, nobody going to know that what you have done, and other people also do the same thing, and it may be just waste your work. Publication may be possible in the research journals, in book chapters and all, but most important, publication regarding a new knowledge that is published in a scientific journal. Uh, and when we go for publication, there is a great chance of uh, misconduct. So publication needs code of conduct, some specific norms we can put for better or responsible publication. Then what is motivation to publish? Maybe there are, as we mentioned, it should not be get some promotion or just some merit in some other areas. That original motivation or the real motivation for this publication, that's to advance the knowledge, and so that knowledge can use by other people. Nowadays, publication become a very challenging job. That may be because of several aspects involved. That pressure to publish work is increased recently, because same area, maybe several other groups may be working with. So our publication get it published. It is very important. Competition among the peers is very high nowadays. And other aspect, now researchers, now faculty members and all, we know that impact factor, and this factor become most important factor nowadays. In that sense, a researcher, when publish a paper in high impact journal, and he thinking he got some credits, some his credentials are increased, contributing to this API score in our promotion and all. These all are linked to our research contribution that is measured based on this impact factor and all. So pressure to publish a research paper in a high impact journal is nowadays very important. And all other academic credentials, like as we mentioned, promotion or getting a fund from other external funding agencies like a DST, SERB, DBT, all these are mainly based on a research publication profile of a person or a department, what it is contributed. And sometimes when we do research, it gives some other extra benefit, like as some reduction in your mandatory lecture hours and all such advantage may be there. And nowadays, research sometimes related to startup and patent when we conduct a research, it is patenting. Such contribution, such pressure is also very high to researchers. Now, as the publication is very important for academic, uh, for improving academic profile of a teacher, a faculty member, or a researcher. Pressure is increasing. Because of increased pressure to publish, there is a possibility of violating many of the ethics in the ethical or values, moral values are getting violated. Exclusively in the publication, there are many areas we can see that publication uh, ethics violation can occur. For example, when we communicate a same paper to two different journals at a time, these researchers often do this type of practice because if one in one journal, if that is our paper is rejected, another journal it may be uh, give some positive response like that. But we have to give a declaration that this to covering letter in a paper which we are communicating, that this paper we uh, not communicated in any other journal at present. We give such a declaration, but we are violating that declaration by communicating paper together at a time. That is unethical in nature. And uh, that is one thing. And without informing collaborators, you are filing a patent or trying to publish a paper, and just putting name of an author, uh, that author is not made any significant contribution to your publication. Still, you just impress them. You are uh, including his name in your paper. That's unethical in nature. And sometimes a single study which we conducted and collecting data, but at this stage of reporting that, we are dividing or we are cutting it into different segments or slicing it, that single study data into uh, as per our convenience into different report or different papers. That we call it as salami slicing, because the splitting of data derived from a single research idea into multiple smaller, which we think it is publishable units or slices. But originally, when we conceived that idea, it was a single study, and we are slicing it into as per our convenience, and just for increasing our number of papers, we are slicing it. That is an unethical practice in publication. And sometimes discussing with a confidential data with your colleagues, data which we obtained, sometimes some papers you may get for evaluation, for peer review process, you may get. That is an unpublished paper which we are getting. But if you are sharing that paper to your students and see, this is a new work going to publish, and it's a novel idea, is so novel, and why don't we try this type of work? If we are doing that, it is an unethical practice, that a confidential data that is not yet published, but we are sharing that data with our colleagues, is unethical in nature. And uh, using data without proper permission, or or drafting a research proposal, uh, or writing some paper that is unethical in nature. And sometimes we try to bypass peer review, a new research finding which we obtain, and without discussing it with a or it is not going for a publication or getting a peer reviewer opinion, that we are directly releasing our finding in a press conference. So there it is not a scientifically valid practice, and a recent setback now faced in case of uh, a new company that is several $1 million. It is now it is that managing director of that company is imprisoned in US. Just from a single drop, we can test more than 150 diseases. They were arguing that, and later it is proved that that is a fake practice. And there it has been that company MD convicted and imprisoned in US. So such things can happen, that without going for a peer review or expert opinion, we may try to publish, we may make that findings in a public domain. That is an unethical practice. And sometimes without discussing or without properly analyzing some data which we get, some abnormal readings which we are getting, and that we call it as outliers. And these outliers, without properly uh, looking into or analyzing, we are removing that outliers. And when we conduct some research without doing statistical analysis or inappropriate statistical analysis, these all are unethical in nature. And uh, failing to acknowledge contribution by other people, that is comes under plagiarism issue, copyright issue, and all. It may invite, and we are trying to mask uh, true fact, or fact or truth, by just uh, projecting some other irrelevant matters in our research proposal and all. These all are against research and publication ethics. And we are trying to test. We are trying to test students, their efficiency, by giving same problem to two research students, as an unethical in nature, and over exploitation of our students, and failing to keep research records, research data, or making some derogatory comments or personal attack to your uh, in the reviews. There we are evaluating some research project or some uh, research papers and all. Now, research publication ethics, that is looked into by an international agency, that is uh, Committee on Publication Ethics, that is constituted by British Medical Journal and Lancet in 1997. They give some guidance for how we should maintain publication ethics. Maybe they often conduct several seminars and guidelines they issued. It's available in COP site. That is world acceptable guidelines to follow publication ethics. Research misconduct means fabrication, falsification, or plagiarism. in our research that are included misconduct. There are two categories we mentioned earlier, that research misconduct at this stage of research. When we do research integrity violation, it is possible, and at this stage of publication, where publication ethics violation, misconduct may be possible. So fabrication, as you know, it's something we are cooking our data without actually doing our research or experiments. We are cooking our data, that is fabrication, or and they are recording and reporting such data, or falsification. There, as per our requirement, we manipulating our data, a particular drug that when we conduct that experiment, it is found that it is not very effective to a drug that is already available. But our drug we want to project there, we may manipulate our new molecule, its activity, we may manipulate in our result. That is some sort of falsification, and sometimes ignoring outliers and such many things, or without doing a post hoc test or mean separation test in our data, or significance test we are not doing. All these are uh, our deliberate effort to mask some truth or keep away from a real result. So such aspect is better avoid in the research. And sometimes then plagiarism is an important issue associated with research. So that also to be avoided in the research. Authorship, as we mentioned earlier, just sometimes we may add author in a research paper which we publish to impress our superiors. We may add, but the agency, that International Committee on Medical Journal Editors, ICMJ, they give very good guidelines. Who will be the author of a research paper which we communicate? That they should have some substantial role in that research, and uh, deciding author when an experiential study start. At that stage itself, we have to decide who will be the author, and based on contribution, when we do that research in actual way, we can re-examine, and author position we can decide, and uh, some professional help if we are taking, we have to disclose that in our paper, and uh, at this stage of document writing, that contribution of each author can be defined in that case. And another aspect related to publication ethics is conflict of interest, that uh, sometimes situation in which financial or other personal consideration may get compromised in our study. So, uh, authors of a research paper have to make a declaration that there is no conflict of interest involved in our research in that case. So, sometimes a doctor, and he is also working as apart from a physician, he is also working as a researcher. That case, he's testing some new drug, or its effectiveness he want to test, and uh, that patient which we are testing, there his interest may be some other, that apart from treating and curing a particular disease, he is trying to collect data, his health data he is trying to collect after conducting this or after administering this drug molecule. So there is a conflict of interest is involved in such situation. And peer review process is also very important in the research. When we publish a research paper, it is to be uh, we we have to insist on that publication is in a peer-reviewed journal. Their peer review is a process, their evaluation of work by one or more people that is by the competent people or an expert in that same field. They evaluate our work and its merit and any fault in our work is there that they will inform us. And this practice only this practice only help us for improving our research. That is why at the beginning, what I taught that openness and ready to accept criticism is very important to a researcher. That when we communicate a research paper to a good journal, their reviewers and editor may give many of the comments. We have to accept these comments if possible and try to improve our research paper as per the comments. We can analyze their comment and its correctness or acceptability can be decided. In that case, in a peer-reviewed journal, there a double-blind review method is adopted. That means reviewer and author identities are concealed. They won't know each other by doing that peer review process. Probably that reviewer may be a friend of or maybe a academic peer, well-known academic peer of that research. But this identity is concealed. That cannot communicate by the journal. This is the mechanism involved in peer review that a researcher doing a research and it is drafting a research paper and it is communicating to a research journal. There, his editor sending that to different reviewers and they are making some comments and it is returning to editor and it's returned to author by the editor, and this process is continued several times and finally that paper may be accepted. If there is any pitfall or there is any serious drawback in the methodology or result which we presented, that paper may be rejected by the editor and returned back to the author. So such things are always involved in that, but this mechanism is a time-consuming process, and reviewers may have may have to provide some enough time for reviewing. So there's fast publication, which we talk about nowadays, but that's not very practically possible because many of the expert reviewers that may require some time to read and it's a manual process. No machine do this review process. So require some time for carefully reading and giving some useful comments to this manuscript. So it may take some time, and sometimes at the initial draft of this paper, it may require many revisions suggested by the reviewers. So it is revise and re-revise. Such exercise may go several times. Then only the research paper get published. So many of the journals, they may be prompted to publish a research paper in 1 month, 15 days period. That's all. It is a peer review process is not very effective in that case. It is very difficult for follow such a very strict time period in a peer review process because of this expert opinion is a manual process. This is the exercise which we mentioned, and impact factor, a very important factor, as we mentioned. And we try to publish our research paper in high impact journals. This is calculated based on this that 2-year period data which we used for publication, that that impact factor of a current year, which we based on citation obtained. For example, impact factor of journal 2017, if you are calculating that citation of this particular journal in the 2017 is recorded, and number of publication in the last 2 years, 2017, so last 2 years, 16 and 15, the total number of publication that is calculated, and it is this calculation give impact factor of that particular journal for that particular year. This is the method of calculating impact factor. This important high impact journal, like I say, Nature, Science, maybe more than 50, and many of the cancer research journals having a impact factor more than 70, and also high impact journals are there. But in the case of plant science, that impact factor is many journals less than 10 nowadays. And retraction is another area. If at the later stage, when a research paper is published, and after that also some expert people pointing out a major drawback to a research paper, a journal editor examine that comment, and it may sometimes lead to retraction of that paper from their publication data bank. That's considered as a scientific community. It is a setback to a researcher. It is very some unethical practice he might be adopted, and in peer group he may be blacklisted. It may lead to, so some research papers may be retracted by journals and after the publication stage. And in case of COVID-19, there are a lot of research into many areas that that may be in physics, chemistry, biochemistry, plant science, and animal science, many disciplines. Several immediate publications were emerged about COVID-related studies. But these papers, later on, a serious peer review process, later on, it is found that these research papers are not having much merit. So these papers later been retracted from the publication profile by the many of the academic publisher groups. It is now in the scientific field world, it is counted as a retraction tsunami after a massive number of papers published by quality journals that later on retracted in case of COVID-19 related. And predatory journals, as a researcher, what I want to suggest, always keep away from such predatory journals. As you know, general features of predatory journals, they are continuously ask papers for publication by these journals, and they ask huge money as a publication charge. But in fact, these predatory journals, they do not have any authenticity and true editorial board, and they would conduct actual peer review process. And this publication later on, if we become a good researcher, this publication become a additional problem, become a problem to your academic career. So try to avoid publishing research papers in the predatory journals. And UGC now in the recent regulation that is going to implement, that is publication made not compulsory for the submission of thesis. That is because of the problem with the predatory journals that many of the even important universities, high quality, high standard universities also, that research scholars trying to publish their research in predatory journals for easy to get a research degree. So this made dealing that research publication from submission of a thesis. So it is not compulsory in future. So that uh, pressure to publishing become little reduced when we do that. And plagiarism, as you know, is an important problem nowadays. Many others' work, as you see here, that may be uh, utilized for our work, but without giving a due credits to the original work. We need to use other work, of course. We then only we can write a review. We can discuss our valid point and materials and method and all. But when we do that, we have to cite from where our this part is taken. We have to give due credit to this where this work is obtained or work is used. So that is very important. If we are not doing, we are doing some plagiarism. Maybe different types of plagiarism, that copy paste, mosaic plagiarism, self plagiarism, global plagiarism. Such type of plagiarism possibilities are there, and if we not following or if we caught our work, there is some plagiarism issue that may often result in the our academic merit may be gone, may go, that our increment or other promotion may be blocked, and our future in our academic research career may be ruined in that case. And many plagiarism checking softwares are available nowadays, and University of Kerala is providing service of Yurkund. Now it is renamed as Original, as a plagiarism checking software, and your thesis or research papers which you drafted, that we can analyze in the this type of plagiarism checking software with the help of plagiarism checking software. Like University of Kerala provide a specific email ID for this purpose. For example, my email ID for checking plagiarism is that. So the students able to send their project report or PhD thesis research papers to this type of email ID, and that report of this will be directly uh, get accessible to me in my normal email ID, and from that I can see that that research report is having, or what extent it is having a plagiarism issue, that we can analyze. And avoiding plagiarism only no is very simple, that give credits to the original source always. And plagiarism issue can be solved at that point. And a ethical committee is there for monitoring research and publication ethics. And this committee, maybe at university or institutional level, ethical committee is there. And once a research problem is formulated, conceived, if ethical issue or ethical clearance is required in your study, this your proposal and detailed experiment you are going to conduct, that can be submitted to this committee, and from there you can get a clearance. There your work need to be presented, and their expert people may suggest some modification, or if only such experiment is required, then only that ethical committee will agree. In this case, in University of Kerala, that biochemistry head is the ethical committee chairman of this in our university. So there are all research problems. There ethical clearance is required. We have to submit our problem or research proposal along with detailed the methodology to this committee. And we are concluding our talk that research and publication there it may involve when do a research or at this stage of publication, there is a great chance of violating ethical qualities or ethical principle. So it is to ensure that our duty or our research that is in tune with ethical principles. So we have to be very keen or we have to be very conscious, and we should get proper training that we are not violating any of the ethical principle. And it is important that respect, consideration, solidarity, such aspect is to be ensured, and it is to be that we stand for truth, objectivity, fairness, openness, and transparency in our research and publication is to be ensured. And in the recent time that research scholars that University Grants Commission has requested to include one additional paper, research and publication ethics, as a part of the course, PhD coursework. That is because there is an increasing instances of violating ethical issues. So, and awareness in this area is very important for young researchers. In that sense, when we do a research, that research and the researchers they are doing this are socially responsible, and that they have to be avoid any conflict of interest in their work. Their high level of ethical consciousness is required when we do a research and publishing a research paper. That's all. These are some of the sources which we collected information, and the question I'm happy to answer. Thank you.